Hello, I'm Bilqis Bahari, and you are watching Interview of the Day. The aviation industry in Kazakhstan is seeing a tremendous growth as aircraft are becoming a popular mode of transportation for the local people. But will this growth turn Kazakhstan into one of the top global aviation hubs? Here with me today to talk about the industry is Peter Griffiths, the General Director of Aviation Administration, Kazakhstan. Welcome to the program, Peter.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your appointment as the Director General of Aviation Administration, Kazakhstan. Why did you take this job?
This is a job that I became aware of nearly 10 years ago when we had the first discussion with the ministers on my first visit to Kazakhstan as the Regional Vice President Europe for IATA. It was a really interesting idea to open up not just Kazakhstan but this entire region to a more open aviation environment. Eventually, when the legislation had been changed and the circumstances were right and the number of changes had been made to the aviation system, they eventually asked me to come over here and see if I would like to be the first Director General. So it's a great pleasure to be here.
So what is your overall view of the aviation industry in Kazakhstan?
The aviation industry here in Kazakhstan has made some enormous changes during the time that I've been observing it from the outside. Air Astana was only a small company and was about the only company that was operating Western-style aircraft, and there was still a lot of the former Soviet Union legacy carriers still here. Now that's changed a lot, so you need a new regulator too.
What changes are expected in Kazakhstan's aviation industry?
There's a number of changes that we'll be looking at as we go through the evolution, the first part of the evolution of the aviation administration. The first bit is making sure that we gather more information on how the companies are operating and ensuring that they're maintaining a high safety level. To do that, we need a better way of interacting with the airlines and gathering safety data. We'd like to move towards a much more digitized structure so that we can get electronic licensing and electronic documentation out to the airlines much quicker. The plan for the organization is, first of all, to increase the amount of people that are looking after the aviation mechanisms. So in the past, this has been done by around about 50 people. And most of all, we need to speed up the delivery of licensing and AOC development to ensure that people can operate 24/7 anywhere on the globe.
So is the Aviation Administration Kazakhstan acting like a middle person between the airlines in Kazakhstan and also ICAO and IATA?
Yeah, and that's pretty much how all the regulators in the world work, is that ICAO lays down the standard operating procedures for global aviation. We then interpret that into Kazakh law, and then Kazakh law is then applied by us, and we go out and inspect against those standards to ensure that we are maintaining the same standard or better than other countries that are operating the same aviation space. Aviation is a truly global industry, and therefore we need one set of operating standards. We may deliver it a slightly different way, but we all have to operate aircraft pretty much the same way.
You have extensive experience in the aviation industry. So based on your observation, what are some of the changes that can be done in the industry in Kazakhstan?
I think the evolution that you're about to see in Kazakhstan is no different to what we did to Western companies back in the 1990s and early 2000s. One of the biggest changes that happened almost on a global level was the advent of low-cost carriers. So I think what you'll see is the same evolution take place here in Kazakhstan, is as we introduce low-cost carriers and we introduce more competition within the aviation system here, not only will it grow quite rapidly, but you'll also see higher standards appear as a result.
Do you think that Kazakhstan can someday be one of the top global aviation hubs?
I think geographically, there's no reason why that shouldn't happen. You're here almost in the center of Asia, and you see Kazakhstan as being a key center of transportation, both in road and rail. So there's no reason why its aviation system can't grow as well. But if you just look at Kazakhstan on its own, it's over 1 million square miles, 2.7 million square kilometers of airspace that has to be operated just for Kazakhstan. This is almost the size of Europe. So Kazakhstan alone can benefit just from aviation. So I see that aviation within the state will grow. That will definitely happen. And then the links to international points, particularly China and Russia, and out into the financial centres of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, and possibly further west into the US. I can see that happening as well.
Talking about Kazakhstan becoming one of the top global aviation hub, do you think that there are enough aviation professionals here, or does the country need more professionals?
I think the key problem that we're going to go through in Kazakhstan is finding enough people to come into the aviation industry and develop experience fast enough to be able to grow. It's a country of 18.5 million people at the moment. It is rapidly growing, but we don't have enough aviation people today. So initially, I would expect people to come in from outside. That has two effects. First of all, it brings in the global standards that we need to operate to in the first place, and that will help with the education of our people. But secondly, we also need to be able to develop education and training in the state here to be able to grow the future of Kazakhstan's aviation professionals. Ultimately, the key success here will be that Kazakh people are operating in the global community as well.
Besides being an airline hub, don't you think Kazakhstan also has the potential to become an MRO hub in the region?
There's no reason why it can't become an MRO hub, and in fact one of the first things that I've been working on since I've been here is to have a look at the aviation strategy and see how it is that we can develop the engineering facilities that we need. I had a recent meeting with Air Astana to talk about engineering facilities, and particularly heavy engineering with engines and engine overhaul. So I would be looking to see if we can bring in some of the larger organizations that do MRO work. For example, people like Lufthansa with Lufthansa Technics, Singapore Technologies, all of these people, to see if we could entice them here and set up MRO facilities in the country. That's actually quite important from an education point of view, because it exposes people to very heavy engineering from an aviation perspective. But you have got the talent here, you just don't have the ability to use it yet. But there's no reason why it cannot grow.
Okay, I'm down to my last question.
Don't make a good one then.
What is Kazakhstan's aviation strategy?
So the aviation strategy to date has been to make sure that we bring in all of the core standards. So Aviation Administration Kazakhstan is a key constituent of that. Once that is complete, then the aviation strategy will need to evolve, because it will then need to start reaching out to the places that we need to operate to. Aviation doesn't exist because it's aviation. Aviation is a key enabler for many things within a country. And here in Kazakhstan, you want to be able to link to the financial centres, you want to be able to carry high-value freight that was normally carried by air out, and you need to be able to bring goods and services and people in. So the aviation strategy will evolve over the next 2 to 3 years as we start putting in the component parts to be able to be more far-reaching and grow that aviation base much quicker than we are at the moment.
Thank you for joining me in the program, Peter. All the best to you.
Thank you.
That was Peter Griffith, the General Director of Aviation Administration Kazakhstan. And I'm Bilqis Bahari, and you're watching Interview of the Day. Thanks for watching again, and see you soon only on Kazakh TV.